Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today from Fairfield University. My name is Cathleen Borgman, and I'm the director of the Career Center. Today, we will be discussing ways to explore the realities of the whole process of going from college to career. And I suggest that as we go through the process, you might jot down questions that you might ask me at the end of the session. So, first let me begin by saying laying the foundation is critical. It really is a 4-year process. It's not something that happens just when you hit spring semester, junior year, or senior year. You need to encourage your student to have regular meetings with their career counselor, of which now there are counselors in each of the schools. They should create a resume as a first-year student and then update it regularly. This is very different from the high school resume that got them into college. While it is not absolutely imperative to have a 3.0, life does not end, it really is strongly suggested that students aim for that 3.0 or higher because it will, in fact, make life easier for them going down the road. They should take assessments, of which there are several, to help them figure out what their actual strengths are and how they can leverage those strengths over the 4 years, but also finding out how their personalities work with other people, finding out what their actual interests are. Those can really help them determine the path they're going to take. And I cannot stress enough getting involved. Many parents ask if internships are important. Absolutely. They're extremely important. However, say you're a first-year parent, keep in mind that your student is competing against older students for many of the very same positions. So it's sometimes difficult to get the best internships, but it's still important to have them. Students are encouraged to have at least one, but really several relevant experiences before graduating from Fairfield. Even if the experience is not closely tied to what their career aspirations are, what is important is for the student to show that they're industrious, they've developed various skills that are transferable, and they've really done something meaningful over the 4-year period. Gone are the days when students really could simply lifeguard or be a waitress. Not that anything is wrong with these. They all have great transferable skills as well. But companies in grad programs are really looking at the types of events that they were involved in, the types of experiences they've had, the internships, the research opportunities, because that will help determine where they see your child. Gone are those days, as I said, sadly, but once again, students are now competing at a much higher level than they were in previous years. Research has shown that 75% of interns receive a full-time offer after interning. However, keep in mind that only 51% actually accept those offers. So when your child is doing an internship, if they're lucky enough to have really proven themselves and received one of these full-time offers, please do not encourage your child to accept and continue interviewing and applying. This is unethical, and it also puts Fairfield in a very bad position. So, at least you know that if they're doing all the right things, those opportunities are out there. You may be wondering where the jobs and internships are. The reality is 80% are located within this hidden job market. you really only see 20% of the positions that are out there these days. So, how is it that students find them? Networking is critical. In addition to using the internet, which includes job internship databases, company websites, and social media. Should they be doing one over the other? No, they really need to be doing them all. And in the younger years, the networking is really an important part. If your child is not used to speaking with other people and going out and gathering information, encourage them to go and do these things, because as the years progress, they need to be skillful in that. And that's a skill that will actually stay with them throughout the rest of their lives. So it's very important. Networking is really bringing your student a step closer to tapping into that 80% or hidden job market. It's about relationship building. It's about collecting information about different industries, about companies, about organizations. It's also about helping to determine and figure out different search strategies that they're going to need down the road. It helps them understand what current trends are. You know, if your student is in marketing or communications, by marketing with people in related industries, they're going to start hearing about what the trends are, what they need to be well versed in, what's coming down the pike. So another great reason why it should be encouraged. These contacts might offer your student access to other contacts down the road, which will help them in securing those internships and full-time positions. Keep in mind that networking is absolutely not about asking for things for your child, for your student. Asking contacts if they have internships or job opportunities for them. It is absolutely not easy. And I know it's difficult to watch your student struggle, but you've got to let them go through this whole process. It, as I said, is something that once they develop that skill, it will help them throughout their lifetime. You must keep in mind, too, this is not an overnight process. It's slow, and slow and steady actually wins the race in this case. So why network? I think it's kind of obvious. That's where that hidden job market is. And if you think about it, many organizations receive hundreds of applications. If they know from someone that's reliable, someone that they trust, that they're being referred a candidate, oftentimes it's much easier on all parties if they bring them in first and foremost. Is it fair to everyone? Maybe not, but we must be realistic through this whole process. Overall, the most influential attributes for internship positions are what the student's major is, leadership experience, and grade point average. If a student is taking a major, which it's a little bit more difficult to figure out how they're going to leverage that, that also increases the need to be sitting with a counselor to determine how they can work their academics and their experiences around that major to position them better for internships and jobs. All positions, all majors on campus prepare students for a plethora of opportunities. It's a question of how they position themselves and how they figure that out early on by working with faculty and counselors. So where should your students start? They need to start chit-chatting with family. Easter's coming up. Encourage them to have those conversations with uncles and aunts. Your friends. their friends' parents, neighbors, professors, coaches, former teachers, coworkers, alumni, career services individuals, and LinkedIn and Twitter. Yes, I did say LinkedIn. We encourage students to all set up their profiles early on in their academic career. Times have changed significantly. So if you remember going to want ads, as I do, or maybe you're a little bit younger and you were looking at some of those books that career offices had with printouts of various alumni that worked in different positions, those have all gone. And it's making it a lot more difficult to locate people, but it's also opening up a world of opportunities that we never would have had before. Technology and the digital age have really moved things to the next level, and it's important that students learn how to maneuver those early on. Fairfield uses a system called Stags for Hire. It's really the first stop in the online process for students looking for internships and jobs. Just last year, we had over 2,000 jobs posted and 1,500 internships. These are people who are posting specifically looking for Fairfield students. So that's a must. However, you don't want to rely on one system solely. And that's why it's important to go to some of these general databases and look and start to research the types of opportunities that are out there. Often I will encourage people not to apply to them necessarily, but start looking at what types of opportunities might appeal to them. What are the qualifications they're looking for? How can they start to hone those skills? How can they modify their resume and cover letter to meet some of these opportunities and show that they're the best people? So I highly encourage their use. There are even industry-specific databases. And here's a listing, and we have many more listings at the Career Center. So I encourage your student to stop by. They should also look at the career sites for individual companies. Students should identify those companies, yes, I said companies as in several, where they would like to work. That way they can start tracking them. Once again, looking to see what types of qualifications, what types of jobs are on their pages regularly. They should be following them in LinkedIn and also on Twitter because they're pushing out opportunities through both of these vehicles. Other strategies that should be encouraged. They should attend the career and internship fairs held in September and February of each year on campus, and a nursing fair, which is typically in November, and other local fairs that we push out through email notices to students. They should follow us on Instagram at Fairfield U Careers and attend the numerous events that are offered, such as alumni panels, industry nights. We have speakers that come in, stags in the city where students are brought to organizations locally in the city, where they can see what it's like on a day-to-day basis. Our alumni have been very generous with their time, and our employer partners, helping students to see what it would be like working in their organization. Students should also be looking at OrgSync constantly. Rumors are that OrgSync is going to be changing a bit, but we will be replacing it with another platform which will have just as much, if not more, information. I think the bottom line to draw from this is there are so many opportunities that your student can be taking advantage of. It's up to them to really read the information and take it to heart. They need to engage in live conversation and interact with people to find out what's going on. So, internships for credit. I'm often asked that by parents. Why consider it? Some companies require that the students do an internship in lieu of a paid opportunity. This became even more important several years ago when there were some issues between internship companies and their interns, where the interns felt that they were really being used to the next level. And this helps keep things in check. It's important to keep in mind that if a student does an internship for credit, that they can replace a traditional elective class with this internship. So they're going to have a more flexible schedule. They're still meeting some of their credit obligations. As an intern, you have a site supervisor. You also have a faculty member who is going to be working with you, helping you throughout the whole process if there are issues or concerns. So there are some pluses to that. Internship requirements, and yes, there are some. The student must meet with the internship coordinator before starting the internship, before agreeing to an internship. Students know going into it that they must complete a minimum of 144 hours at the internship and do some sort of a paper or presentation for their internship director or coordinator, and then complete some sort of evaluation survey. We're also getting feedback from the employers that helps us to develop the student. We can come back with some positives and some areas that need to have maybe a little bit of strengthening. If your student does do an internship for credit, you must keep in mind that you have to pay for those credits. But there are a few different options that they can explore with their advisor. And as I said before, they must speak with their coordinator prior to accepting. Oftentimes I hear people accept positions and then they find out that they're not going to be able to do it for credit. And it causes disruption in the student's life, but also the company is put in a bad spot. So keep that in mind. Now, your student received the call. They're going to be doing the interview. Now what? After you finish jumping up and down, as I'm sure you will, you should encourage your student to prepare for the interview by researching the company and the position as much as possible. We have got lists of the 50 most common interview questions on the Academic and Career Development website. They should meet with a counselor. The counselor can help run through different scenarios, perhaps offer some suggestions about the company, about the whole interview process, and perhaps even do a mock interview with your student. Interview Stream is a very robust system that's located on the Career Center website through the ACDC website. It's free of charge. Students have access to it 24/7, and they can go through an interview and see what they look like, how they came across, and continue to do different interviews so they can strengthen those skills. Encourage your student to come up with questions that they might ask the interviewer, something that cannot be answered simply by looking at the website. Have them, or remind them, you remind them, that they should come in with several copies of their resume on resume paper, not copier paper. But I would say a minimum of 5 copies, because oftentimes if someone is selected and could be a possible fit, they will pull the student in to meet with someone who might not have been originally on the interview list. This person may not have seen the resume, and it's really a courtesy. Also, some people will use that as a slight test to see whether or not your student is ready or prepared. That's why it's good to have one tucked away just in case. So, does your student need a suit? Yes. Simply, it's a fact of life. Some organizations are trendy, may not need the old-fashioned IBM style suit. However, it would be in their best interest to have one just in case. You should always go in very professional. If it is a trendy organization where you know that they're into the latest fads, perhaps using a little more color, a nice suit jacket with an interesting, for women, an interesting skirt or a dress with a blazer, that would be fine. But I would say for the greater majority of individuals, they shouldn't chance it and they should go with an old-fashioned suit. Black, gray, blue. I would suggest staying away from the color brown as an interview suit because research has shown that it does not track well during an interview. Any other time, fine, brown's a great color, but don't take it during the interview. The Career Center has developed a career closet, and we're in the process of building it out. We have a significant number of men's suits, ties, shirts, even some shoes. And we have some women's. We're working on building that out more. But that way, if your child realizes that they're having an interview soon and they don't have anything on campus, they should come and see what we have in our career closet. If you decide that they need to buy something, we're not suggesting you have to go out to the most expensive place and get the best suit. There are fabulous suits that have never been worn at Goodwill. Designer suits with the tags still on. So look at those, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, they have got Macy's. You know, it's the first interview. They can look great no matter where they get those. So, during the internship, because we know that your child is going to get a yes, and they're going to get called in for that summer job, say, you want to make sure that they're dressing appropriately at all times. This means no cutout backs of blouses, not having too much skin, nice shirt, tie. You want to have them, or tell them, to look to see how other people are dressed, but always consider, dressing to the next level because people want to see that you're taking this seriously and you're a professional at all times. They should pay attention. Turn off the cell phones. Don't sit there listening to headphones and music while entering those Excel spreadsheets. Stay off Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And moms and dads, as much as you might want to check in with your student, I would consider don't call them throughout the day. Sure, maybe at lunchtime, but hold off. Treat feedback that is received from the employer as something that is really a plus. It's a gift. That people want to see younger people succeed. I think everyone likes seeing everyone succeed. So when feedback is given, and sometimes it's negative, it's to try and further develop them. Students should use their time wisely, always meet deadlines, and in fact, offer to do more work when they've completed theirs. These are all the little things that add up that make people say, gee, that was a great intern. We want them to come back here full time. They should be contributing to the organization while also learning how to do other things. This is one way to strengthen the skill set. And it's great for you to add that to your resume once you get back to campus. The intern, as I said, who can be seen as an asset is one that is going to be seen as an asset coming and working full-time at the organization, whether it's working for one of the big accounting firms or a local nonprofit. You know, it all works the same. Also, encourage them to meet with people besides their intern group. Have them meet as many professionals as possible. This way, they can be asking information, gathering more data on what they want to do, and also create a brand for themselves so that people start to think, that's someone I want to watch. That child's going somewhere. So when the internship is over, remind your student to send a thank you note to the supervisor and anyone else who helped them, and encourage them to periodically keep in touch. This means dropping them a note from campus, maybe when they come back home for different breaks, stopping by to see how things are going. This way, they're always in the back of the folks' mind, and they're not a distant memory, which soon becomes a very, very distant memory when it comes time to hire. So we've been talking a lot about what you should be encouraging your student to do. Here's some parental advice on things maybe you shouldn't do and you should do. Remind your student to send that thank you to the supervisor, as I mentioned. Advise them to visit their career counselor regularly to review and update the resume, write tailored cover letters, and also just have very robust conversations, concrete, discussing where they want to go down the road. This way, if they decide that they want to change their route, the counselor can be working with them. It helps the student not only solidify ideas in their mind, but it's also useful to eliminate some of that stress that occurs further into junior and senior year. You want to discuss professionalism, how to conduct themselves, the attire they wear. Practice interview questions and be honest with them. Have small talk. Don't let your student walk around with that iPhone constantly. Engage them in conversation. Have them discuss things with other people. Offer support during the stressful times, frustrating times. It's a process. It's something that does, in fact, take an extended period. So knowing that you're there to support them means a lot. Please do not write your child's resume or cover letter or make phone calls on their behalf, not just to a possible internship site or job site, but even to the Career Center. Encourage your student to advocate for themselves throughout the 4 years they're here. If they have issues or concerns, if they're frustrated, they should be the ones calling the Career Center and speaking to the counselor, not you. Don't apply for positions for your student. They need to do it. Don't go to the career fairs for them or with them as moral support. They need to be doing this themselves. Whatever you do, don't go on the interview with your student. It hasn't happened at Fairfield. However, we have heard stories that parents have tagged along, not just to interviews, but also through the whole negotiation process. This sends a very poor message on multiple levels. Lastly, don't think that Fairfield is going to find a position for your student. We will give them the skills needed to go through the process and actually continue to do this throughout their life. It's now up to the student to actually find the positions. We give them the tools, we give them the resources. They have got to be the ones taking part in this full process. Most of all, don't forget that all of this is part of the learning process, and you're really helping them for a lifetime by doing it. So at this point, I am open for any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Kath. As a reminder, please feel free to enter any questions that you have for Kath to answer in the chat feature of the webinar, but I'll get us started with some that have already come in. So Kath, the first question is what do you recommend for students who aren't quite sure what they want to do following graduation in terms of internships? Should they complete them? How should they look for them if they don't have kind of a identified career goal in mind?
Okay, what I would suggest is, first of all, Fairfield is a resource for life. So I would make sure that that student actually has a relationship with a career counselor. It's surprising, Marissa, how many people don't necessarily take advantage of the career counselors. We can sit and work with them, maybe take some of those assessments that they hadn't taken. I don't necessarily encourage internships unless you know that there is going to be an end in sight. There are some organizations out there that will offer internships, but they will keep stringing people along and renewing them, and that's why I think it's good to be working with a counselor through some of these things. Yes, some people don't necessarily get the experiences that they probably should have in terms of internships before they leave Fairfield, and there are ways around that through the internships. You just want to make sure they're the right ones and they're going to be providing the right resources. I strongly encourage people to work in whatever capacity prior to going on to different types of grad programs as well. This way, when they finally do go into the grad school, they know exactly what it is that they're looking to do and are more focused. They'll have a much better experience academically, and they'll come out more focused.
Great, thanks. So you shared a lot of great information during the webinar, and I'm not sure if students are necessarily going to be watching this, but how can they find out more information about interviews, preparing for internships, talking about networking, resumes, everything like that? How can they find out more?
Sure. So there is just a lot of information on the website through the ACDC web link. Right now, I believe it's Career Leadership and Professional Development. There are sample questions, the 50 most common questions, the interview stream, a lot of these links to different job sites. But probably most importantly, I can't stress it enough, go and make an appointment with a career counselor. They have got the information and they can quickly start filling you with guidance on how to do the things you need to do. There are also timelines on that website so that you can see whether or not you're doing things in the basis which we believe you should be doing them. You just don't want to be stuck senior year realizing I haven't done much in the 4 years and backtrack. It's a process.
Thank you. So those are all the questions that we have right now. So if all of our watchers, viewers out there, if you do have additional questions for Kath, please feel free to email them to engagement@fairfield.edu or to her contact information for the office, which I think she's going to put up on the next slide.
Ta-da!
And thanks for watching today.